Oh, my, what a night in the Big 12. What a night.
Depends on your perspective.
Houston in an ugly game. They won, tired as hell, probably like everybody else was that played Monday night, like TCU and Baylor. 67-59. They didn't play great, but they didn't let Cincinnati have much either. Eventually just ended up in a free throw shooting contest. Both teams tired. Houston wins the game. They took it, the number one team, and they took care of business. Then this one, Kansas led at halftime and could not hold off BYU. BYU again shot lights out from the perimeter. 76-68 KU now with another Big 12 loss. We'll get to you in a minute. The fact that you're here is amazing.
Congrats to BYU. That's, good for Houston. They've been in a grinder, and Cincinnati keeping it competitive, but the Cougs are just on a roll right now, so expected they'd get that win, but yeah, maybe a little bit more difficult, or certainly not as sexy as some of their other wins that we've seen this year. But all that matters is just getting the W. So they did that, and now they can move on and take a little bit of a breath. But with BYU, what a win for them. Amazing how this first year in the Big 12 has gone. If you were to point out certain things you would love to have accomplished, certainly going and beating Kansas at their place is right there near the top of the list, if not at the top of the list. So I know that's a milestone moment for the Cougars program and the university, and very welcome gift here in their first year in the Big 12 Conference. So that was very surprising. Not shocking, just because Kansas has been vulnerable and BYU has proven that they're a tough team. But, yeah, that was still surprising to some extent to see that go down the way that it did.
Now, before we get to Paul and his night, here's a couple of tweets that Paul sent to me to kind of emphasize that BYU win last night. Yeah. This one here, the last home loss. No, the other one, Garrett. The last home loss to an unranked team at Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence was 2,215 days ago in 2018 to Oklahoma State. Also, look at the shot selection between BYU and Kansas. BYU hitting and shooting and making a bunch of threes. That's what they do. Baylor felt the wrath of that just about a week ago. That's what they do best, making 13 threes compared to KU making just 3.
Yeah, rough
Not
night.
done. Not done.
We're not done. Keep going.
So the standings in the Big 12 through last night's games. At the very top, of course, top-ranked Houston, and then right behind them, Iowa State. And then you have KU, Baylor. BYU now is up above 500, as is TCU. Tech, which we'll get into their loss to Texas. And then look at all the teams at 500 or better or near that, including now Texas and K-State.
Yeah, it's a great night for Cougars. I'm sure a bunch of 50-year-old divorcee women got laid last night too. But Houston won, BYU won, and BYU, look, Bill Self after the game basically said they couldn't let BYU have the game that they had against Baylor, and they did it. And when you can take the crowd at Allen Fieldhouse out of the game, that is a huge, huge thing, and they did it last night. And Kansas, when they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bad. And I'm happy to be here and seeing my friends today. That's all I'm saying.
I've looked for scratches or any kind of bruises. You seem to be fine.
Look, I'll tell you.
Last night, Paul texted me. Can I say the white shirt deal? Can you?
No, I'll tell it right now. Look, if anybody rings the doorbell at my house in a short sleeve white shirt and a black tie, they better run.
Yeah, you said hands will be thrown.
Yeah.
So, and there was a moment in that game where I thought BYU, Dickerson kind of purposely ran into the post player at BYU. The BYU got the technical foul, and it seemed like from that point on, it's like BYU buckled up, ended up having a great run down the stretch, and also KU could not shoot free throws last night in that game. And then in Lubbock, Texas jumped on the Red Raiders from the start, had a huge lead. I think I fell asleep. If I did, they were up by like a 27, 8-9. And then it ended up being 81-69. Brock Cunningham going for a loose ball. There's no doubt what he was doing, throwing a hip check at a KU player. Got the intentional, the flagrant,
Texas
also
Tech.
ejected, Texas Tech. And then kind of all hell broke loose. Water bottles being thrown in the court. Not a good scene. Grant McCaslin had to get on the mic, but the damage had been done.
Well, let me once again, even though he's not he's not on the chat room today. Kim Coulter got mad at me in the earlier show because apparently I did not take Tech's side enough in this. What Brock Cunningham did was a punk move. Absolutely.
But that's kind of who he is.
That was his opus. Right there.
Yep.
He's had a bunch of different flagrant fouls. You knew eventually he was going to have a flagrant 2. It's why he's out there. He was unabashedly unafraid to go and do it. He got ejected. He should have been ejected. He'll get suspended. He should be suspended and all that. But in that, a loud booing pretty much does the job, and then you kind of lose your moral high ground when you throw things at the players. That's the problem.
Can't do it.
Can't do that. And so that's where, Tech lost a little bit of their footing there. But what Brock Cunningham did, and look, everybody in the Big 12 hates him. I mean, I would say he's the most hated player in the Big 12 by everybody because of the way he plays. And Texas probably loves having an enforcer like that on their team.
Every team usually has one.
Look, he did what he did last night. It was totally punk Grayson Allen type move. And everything that happened to him should have happened, except for getting things thrown at him that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I opened up Twitter earlier today and just, randomly whatever's the first thing on top. And had you been somebody that didn't watch that game, and granted, if you're not watching that game, maybe you're not following people that were either, but the first thing I see, and I was telling myself, like, what if I had not watched the game last night and my reaction is the first thing that I see, and it's the Tech fan getting, picked up and taken away. And I'm like, oh, what did Tech fans do now? Because they've developed that reputation for themselves over the years. And so I saw that, and I knew better and what the situation was, but I just thinking of it that way of your first impression is just seeing a Tech fan being picked up and lifted and carried away, and you see the scoreboard and you're like, what are they doing now? But yeah, there was instigation. Brock Cunningham knew exactly what he was doing. He was playing his role to perfection, and I would be pissed off if I was a Texas Tech fan as well. But you got to behave yourself, and I don't think you did any favors by reacting the way that you did, although I understand the extreme reaction. But man, to flip that on and just see how that got so lopsided so quickly and
big time, yeah,
and just a blowout, right out of the gates, was just really surprising to me. I did not expect that in any form or fashion, and was shocked by just how much of a lead Texas built up there, and Tech tried to chip away, but just all for naught there. And so that game in every way, shape, and form, I think, leaves a bad taste in your mouth from the way it happened on the court to the way that it happened off the court. And you can be ticked off, but ultimately the result's what matters in the end. And Texas rolled in and just beat the brakes off of Texas Tech, and then also got in their heads a little bit. So Red Raiders will rebound, I'm sure. They'll regroup. Graham McCasland will get them back on track. But just a really bad night there in Lubbock for that crew.
Yeah, you just, no matter how angry you get, throwing things on the court or whatever, you could hit one of your own players, and it's we could talk about court storming, but you just cannot do that. And a player or a fan being ejected is a bad scene. When I saw that there was I think the word was, it wasn't brawl. I don't know if it was tempers flared. And I said, I bet Brock Cunningham's involved. That's kind of his role. He can get under your skin. He plays hard. Some think maybe he plays dirty. Sure enough, you could see where he knew what he's doing. I thought Isaacs or whoever got hit did a great job of keeping their composure for the most part. And then, of course, all hell breaks loose. And he does the hook 'em horns as he's walking into the tunnel. Texas with a nice win.
God
That's
forbid.
A really nice win.
God forbid if anybody from Tech had done it upside down on their way out, then that all hell would have broken loose. So if you want to say taunting, that's taunting. Was he not taunting by doing the same thing, or is that okay?
But it was actually a finger. That's basically that was his way of shooting a finger at Tech, because he's had a back and forth with some fan bases.
So I think it's funny that's so offensive when done the other way, or it can be mocking. But is that not doing the exact same thing? But no, you just pretend that it's just I was just doing my school symbol. It's like BS, dude. But anyways,
it was intentional. So was the hip
That's just
check.
how dumb the entire rule surrounding that is, and I'm thankful that we're not going to have to worry about that probably ever again moving forward. And talking about the Big 12 at least, we'll see how the SEC addresses it.
I think the SEC will.
SEC will. What the hell?
I mean, we say that. We say that, and then until I actually see them go like, y'all are a bunch of you know what, we're not going to enforce this the way your old league did, then I'll respect it. But until they do, let's see how they actually treat that. But, yeah, I mean, it can be used when correctly used in a very mocking fashion. So, kind of hypocritical there. But besides that, I mean, if you're Texas fans, you love that he got under their skin and you got the win and you did it in convincing fashion. And, you rubbed the Red Raiders the wrong way in every way, shape, and form. So that's a tough pill to swallow, for sure.
It does hurt. You hate them, Texas, and then they come in and they rip your heart out and beat you up and make you like it. And then, of course, there's the incident with Cunningham, and it's unfortunate that Grant McCaslin had to get on the microphone and then calm that down. When we come back, we'll